We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land of which we record this podcast, the Whadjuk people of Nungabudja. We recognise their continued connection to the land and waters of this beautiful place and acknowledge that this land has never been ceded.
Welcome to Health and Safety Conversations. Here's your host, Tom Bourne.
And welcoming back to our lovely podcast, the marvellous Marc Miles. Marc, how are you today?
It's time once again for Insights on Learning with Marc Miles. Marc Miles is a nationally recognized expert in trainer development, author of the highly acclaimed book, Creating Transformation, and a driving force in transforming adult education across Australia. If you've ever delivered training, Marc's probably helped someone do it better.
I'm really good. I'm excited to be back. So great to be here again.
It's because you're so much more talented and wise and thoughtful and of course better looking than me. So I'm hoping it'll all rub off on me sooner or later.
I'll take those compliments.
All right, Marc, you're joining us back and you want to speak about a particular topic in today. So what would that be?
Well, as we've said, I'll give you lots of notice about this topic, but the topic for today is the illusion of PD in the vet sector.
Okay, tell me more.
All right, the illusion of PD. So I think as I get on my high horse, a lot of times it's about recording it on the trainer matrix, got to do that. And then got to record it on the PD plan, got to do that, right? Really, really important, right? But I guess if we actually looked at what is the point of doing personal or professional development, part of me would just postulate, I don't know, just a crazy idea, that your performance actually gets better over time. What a crazy idea, right? It's not just a fill in the box exercise. What a crazy idea, right? So for me, I guess I call it the illusion of PD because it's sometimes like we're chasing a mirage and we're chasing the idea that I've been to these things, done these things. So of course I'm a better trainer, or of course I'm a better assessor. So for me, it really comes down to, well, the proof is actually in the performance. So again, I know it's a crazy idea, but for me, like PD is part of my lifestyle, right? So I have scheduled in time on a particular day where I'm like, all right, I'm now going to read the articles for the week. Or there's going to be time on a Sunday where I'm going to watch particular videos because I'm interested in those things. There's going to be times where I'm going to actually rewatch a video that I've seen previously. I'm going to take new notes, and then I'm going to implement that into my course delivery coming up the following week. Now, all these things may or actually may not fit into the magic squares on my matrix on my plan. But these things and these activities are actually going to lead to better performance and maybe continuous ongoing improvement in how I actually show up as a trainer and assessor. So I call it the illusion of PD because it's like we have this idea of if we do these ticking boxes exercises, that's actually going to lead to better performance, but it doesn't. So that is the hot potato I'm going to throw back at you, Tom. Your thoughts?
All right. I'd suggest that there's a little bit of thinking here, which is we tend to, for good reasons, spend a lot of time with compliance in the vet sector. And the ticking the boxes in PD is certainly a tedious, repetitive, boring, mind-numbing exercise, but I do understand it has its purpose. But like most pieces of ticking boxes, compliance functions, I think you really have to think about the purpose. What is the purpose we're doing it for, or has it become a process in itself? And the process basically then drives us to do things rather than actually genuinely wanting to get better, actually wanting to be a better trainer, actually wanting to learn from those who are better than us and going and learning new techniques and new styles, because that's, to me, is the whole point of professional development. It's not about every 12 months we have to demonstrate X amount of hours in PD. And you see trainers, they don't do it all year. They don't tick the boxes all year. And then it comes up, you've got this reminder from compliance. And so we go and make all sorts of nonsense up, look in our bookshelf or go, oh, that's right, I attended something one time. I wasn't really paying attention, but, I've got to tick the box somehow. Yeah, I think we do have to challenge, are we just doing it to tick a box? And if PT isn't meaningful or worthwhile, then why are we doing it? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, what we organically do anyway. So, for example, prior to this meeting we're having right now, I was on the phone with a colleague and we were actually discussing something and we were having a conversation about some terms and things that are happening in the vet sector. And as a result of that conversation, both of our knowledges expanded. So, it's a really interesting thing. It's like, well, when we go along to a thing or do a thing or read a thing, our knowledge base might expand, but does that actually lead to us becoming better deliverers or facilitators or trainers? Or does it just simply expand our knowledge about what's happening in our industry? One of the reasons I wrote my book, Advanced Workshop Facilitation Skills, is because I saw such a absence of great quality material on how to become a better facilitator and actual books out there or actual articles out there. And I thought, there's a real need for that. But yet, if we went to our trainer matrix, our PD plan, putting my book onto that document there, would that fully align? I don't know. So it's a really interesting thing that we all want our trainers to be better. We all want them to continuously develop and improve their skills. Yet sometimes the formalization of it can get very interesting. And as I shared even with a group yesterday, I believe great trainers should always have the attitude of, I want to get better and I want to do better for my audience. And I shared that continuous ongoing improvement is something that every trainer should be doing every single course. And it's like there's this new thing that I do in the online space that I discovered I have to do in order for certain things to happen. And it's one small tweak. And I know that if I don't do that, then something else is not going to happen. I'm constantly looking to better my performance, but I wouldn't tie that, changing XYZ, being able to put that on a form. But I think that's critically important to be able to demonstrate, no, as a trainer, I am taking initiative and developing myself.
Ask you a few things about PD because it's one of those things that's always, I don't know, interests me a little bit. Some of the concepts in the vet sector about it. Is there a magic number? I know a lot of RTOs put a magic number on the number of hours of professional development you should do in 12 months. Now, pardon my ignorance, does ASQA require a minimum numbers of PD per every year?
Currently, no.
Yeah. So I just wonder sometimes when RTOs come up with this magic number and say you've got to hit the magic number of PD, where that actually comes from, because it couldn't see it. But there's also the other thing, which is what is spending an hour doing a pointless activity as opposed to, I don't know, doing something deep and meaningful you can learn from. What is a different weighting between a validation, participating in a validation, and attending a seminar, or watching another trainer, or sitting in and reviewing another trainer's performance, or as I said, reading a book? I don't understand how we have this vague system that each RTO and each compliance officer interprets completely differently is anything more than a process, to be brutally honest.
Well, you're stepping out on the edge on this one. Welcome to the edge. I like it. Oh, we'll even call the podcast the edge. I like it. The number thing has always been interesting for me because it's sort of like, well, you could attend a 2-day conference like the VEL conference coming up, and you could say, well, 2 days concentrated learning, that means I don't need to do anything else for the rest of the year. Maybe, maybe not. And I think there's definitely a piece about keeping your knowledge up to date. But the interesting thing is often other industries like finance, I believe they've got a number, and teachers, they've got a number of hours they need to do in a year. And in the absence of a number prescribed by ASQA, everyone's left wondering. And I think it would be good to have a number, but I think the number should be agreed upon and everyone sort of abides by the number, so that you could at least say, yeah, I've done my 20 hours and my 15 hours this year and I'm tracking along and I'm meeting my requirements. But when they don't specify a number, or they don't put a number allocation against different types of activities, as you said, oh, I've done one webinar this year.
I was spending 50% of the time playing with the dog or hanging out washing or something, but I was there in spirit, right?
Oh, yeah. And then we could push even further off the edge and say, when I went along to the webinar, at the end of the webinar, they tried to sell me their LMS. Was that a PD session as well? Looks like better. We live on the edge, right?
Well, I got to ask you a few things here about PD, Mark. Remind me again, PD is actually required in the standards for RTOs for their trainers and assessors. Is that correct?
Certainly is. The new standards prescribed.
Good. I wanted to see if I was still current up with that knowledge. But second thing is, if it is a requirement for trainers within a registered training organization, who should pay for the PD?
Whoa, you went there. Alrighty. Well, there's a lot of videos on this particular issue there. So this is where I sort of say, if a trainer is contract, then generally it's the onus is going to fall onto the contract trainer, so to speak, to do their own PD. I think if an RTO is employing a trainer as a full-time trainer, I do believe that there should be a bit of give and take, and the RTO, by nature of its operations, should be putting on PD events, say once a month or every couple of months, to at least have the employee meeting the requirements, right? They should be recommending webinars and they should be paying for those webinars or bringing staff in to meet those PD requirements. So I believe there is an onus on the RTO itself to do enough so that the staff would meet the requirements. And if there's other things as part of the standards that need to be shared, such as there's a new policy on student well-being, well, that should be part of their PD as well. A bit of an info session about how the RTO is going to do that. I think also in an ideal world, if there was something that the trainer wanted to go off and attend, like a conference or like, I don't know, a public speaking course, that they could go along and maybe the RTO would come to the party and pay 50%, or the staff member pays 50%. The thing is, for me, I've been in environments where I've seen lots of extremes around this conversation. I think as part of being an employee, you absolutely have a responsibility, excuse me, to turn up to the PD, do the work as part of your employment obligations. But I would hope that also as an employee within an industry and someone that actually wants to get better and develop their skills actually takes an interest in other opportunities out there and says, hey, Mr. Employer, I just noticed that I'm a little bit weak on the old project management, or I'm a little bit weak on time management. Could I go along to a course? I've just seen something being offered. Would you help me pay for it? I think that's a very healthy conversation, and that actually builds good quality loyalty over a period of time if you feel like your RTO is really supporting your growth as well, and that leads to longevity.
What would you feel about a training organization, any training organization, who basically says, we're happy to pay for you to attend a course and learn new materials, etc., and see another trainer in action, so long as that course is on our scope, so you can teach it when you come back? Is that the only PD that should be offered?
I would disagree with that. I think that is one definite reason to do PD. And I think that's a great incentive and a great idea. I think it opens up a big can of worms in the sense of if I've got an employee who comes to me and says, oh, I got this thing I'd love to go off and do because I'm feeling weak in this area. And if I got more strength in that area, it would make me a better trainer and it would help me with my admin or help me with my whatever. I think if as an employer, it would be a nice gesture or a great way to support the staff member to hang around, to be willing to hop in some financial support around that. Whether they cover the entire cost or not, that's up to that organization. But definitely, if the RTO is going to add it to their scope, that would be a great reason to send them off to do it. But I really think also it comes back to who gets the ultimate benefit and who is benefiting from the external study that's done. And if both parties are benefiting, well, yeah, that's a conversation to have looking at staff development. And that's going to be a conversation that applies to other industries as well. Just like outside the vet sector, you want to help your staff grow and develop. And I think that's the core thing. I mean, as we both know, a lot of times people are sent off to conferences. And then when they come back from the conference, they're kind of encouraged to do a little bit of an info session on what they learned at the conference. And I think that's a great way for the staff member to bring value back to the organization as well.
Absolutely. I think when you go away for PD, you should be able to come back and actually teach other people about the topic. And I think that's a great way to actually, recognize value, because then it becomes a PD session for the other staff as well. Anything else we need to cover today, young Marc?
I think, as I put on LinkedIn the other day, with PD, it's just really important to be intentional. I encourage all of them to be deliberate and intentional with what you're doing. If you do go off to something, ask yourself, how am I going to use the information I've just heard? Or watching the trainer facilitator, what did they do well on stage and what can I copy? Or what did they do that I would never want to do that? And at least have a trainer journal and be proactive around your own growth. So I recommend to all trainers at the end of every course you deliver, ask yourself some great quality self-reflection questions. For example, what am I really happy about with what I just did in that session? And actually record that. Then the second question is, if I ever did that session again, what's one thing I would do differently? And by the end of, just simply answering those two questions every single time you deliver, you're going to end up with a great record of your personal growth. Whether we put that into a PD category or not, you've got your personal growth mapped out as two simple questions, and answering those two questions could take you like 2 or 3 minutes at the most. But when you've got a record, you can really feel like, wow, I have grown over the year, which is really cool. And I guess if you take that to other circumstances and, you got other pages in your book where you write down when you watched other people, what were the ideas that you stole from them? I think that really activates your PD. as opposed to, well, we're just ticking some boxes and filling out boxes. Well, which is all important. We love compliance. We want to meet those standards. But for me, at the end of the day, if you're meeting standards but not actually growing as an individual, do both and make PD part of your lifestyle. Because as a trainer, you can only take your learners as far as you go and as far as you grow yourself.
Good. You actually stole the last question I was going to give you, which was, is self-reflection PD? So I think we know the answer for Marc Miles. I think you're saying it is. I didn't come into self-reflection till only about 10 years ago. And I thought it was at the beginning all mumbo jumbo and, soft and cuddly nonsense. But yeah, it is one of the most valuable exercises you can do, not only as a trainer, but as a person, is to sit back and go, yeah, what do we do good? What was really poor? What can I improve on? What can I try next time? How did I mismanage this student? How could I manage that situation better? Absolutely vital. But again, you're right. Never gets recorded on a trainer matrix or on a PD register. Yeah. All right. That might do us today, Mark. It's always been a great pleasure speaking to you, as it again has been today. So thanks very much for your time and your insights. And
no problem at all. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Health and Safety Conversations with Tom Bourne. Until next time, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your week.